I used to believe we had the perfect marriage, until I saw her kiss him in our driveway. It was a Wednesday afternoon, the kind where nothing feels urgent. I'd come home early from work. A client meeting got canceled. I didn't text Claire. I thought I'd surprise her. As I pulled into the street, I saw a silver car already parked in our driveway. A man stepped out. Claire was standing near the porch, smiling. She leaned in and kissed him. Not a goodbye hug, not a friendly peck, but something deeper, practiced. My first instinct was denial. Maybe it was a cousin, a friend, someone I didn't know, but my gut said otherwise, and it never lies. I didn't step out of the car. I waited until they both went inside. I sat there, engine running, heart in free fall. For the first time in 8 years of marriage, I realized I didn't really know the woman I'd built my life around. The next few days were a blur. I didn't confront her, not yet. I needed to be sure, even though my heart already knew. Claire was normal. That's what made it worse. She was smiling, asking how my day was, cooking dinner like nothing had happened. I watched her closely. Every gesture, every word, every "I love you," they felt rehearsed now, like lines in a script she'd mastered over time. That weekend, I checked her phone when she was in the shower. Locked, of course. New password. She used to share everything with me. Now, I was shut out. From her phone, her mind, and apparently, her heart. I started noticing other things too. New lingerie tags in the trash. Late work meetings with no real proof. Gym visits she never mentioned before. And once, she came home smelling like a cologne I didn't wear. I confided in Rachel, my coworker and one of the few people who truly knew our relationship. She didn't act surprised. She looked at me like she'd been holding something in for a while. David, I didn't know if I should say anything. But I saw Claire at the Grove last month. She wasn't alone. She showed me a picture on her phone. Claire was sitting across from a man, laughing, leaning in, hands touching, a still frame of betrayal. I felt sick. Claire wasn't just cheating. She was living a whole other life, one where I didn't exist. The night after Rachel showed me the picture, I barely slept. I lay beside Claire, listening to her soft breathing, wondering how many nights she had laid here thinking of someone else. The woman I married, the one who once cried in my arms when her father passed, now felt like a stranger in my bed. By morning, I had made up my mind. I needed the truth, not guesses, not screenshots, but hard, undeniable truth. So I started digging. First, I bought a cheap prepaid phone and installed a call recording app. Then, I placed a small GPS tracker under the back seat of her car, something I never imagined doing in my life. It felt dirty, wrong, but being lied to felt worse. The next day, I watched her leave at 6:30 p.m., saying she had a client dinner in Midtown. The tracker pinged her location, nowhere near Midtown. She drove west, toward the Lake District, where we had no friends and she had no business. I followed from a distance. The GPS showed her car parked outside a private home. Suburban, quiet. I waited across the street in my car, feeling my pulse in my ears. 30 minutes passed. Then she stepped out of the house with him. He was taller than me, athletic. He had that easy confidence some men are just born with. Claire wrapped her arms around him like she'd done it 100 times before. They kissed, again. Longer this time. Her face lit up in a way I hadn't seen in years. She didn't look guilty. She looked happy. And I, the loyal, devoted husband, sat in the dark, watching my world shrink to nothing. That night, I didn't confront her. I came home before she did, sat on the couch and tried to feel something other than rage. I wanted to scream. I wanted to smash something. But mostly, I just felt hollow. This wasn't just infidelity. This was deception layered over months, maybe years. And I was the fool who still believed she loved me. But now I had a name. I found it from the mailbox on the house she visited. Jake Callahan. Jake. Everything was about to change. I spent the next 2 days researching Jake Callahan. He was a personal trainer. Instagram full of shirtless photos, motivational quotes, and just enough personality to look harmless. Unless you knew what he was really doing. I found his gym profile, Yelp reviews, even an old interview he did with a local podcast. Claire had never mentioned him. But now I noticed something chilling. She had started working out more, eating differently, even changing her wardrobe. It was all for him. I didn't tell Rachel everything. Just enough to let her know I wasn't spiraling in silence. She begged me not to do anything stupid. I said I wouldn't. I lied. That Friday, I drove back to the house, Jake's house, parked nearby and waited. Claire's car was already there. Lights on inside. Curtains drawn. I sat in the dark, engine off, wrestling with the 1,000 thoughts in my head. Was this the night I knocked on that door and blew it all apart? But then something strange happened. A neighbor walked past with her dog. She waved at Jake's house, smiled like she knew whoever was inside. That's when it hit me. They weren't hiding. Claire wasn't having a fling. This wasn't some one-night slip-up or drunken mistake. She was in a relationship, a second life, complete with casual hellos from the neighbors. That night, I didn't go to Jake's door. I went home and waited. At 11:13 p.m., Claire walked in. Hair a little messy. Makeup still fresh. She looked at me like nothing had happened, like she hadn't just spent the evening wrapped around another man. I asked her how her client dinner went. She lied without blinking. It was fine. Long? I just nodded. And that's when it broke. Not her story. Me. I stood up, walked past her, didn't say a word, went straight to the guest room and locked the door behind me. She knocked once, then again. I said nothing. She stopped knocking. And that silence told me everything I needed to know. The next day, Claire acted like nothing was wrong. I could tell she was trying to keep up the charade, offering me coffee, asking if I wanted to go out for a walk. But I wasn't playing along anymore. My mind was made up, and she was about to face the reality of what she'd been hiding. When I came downstairs after my shower, I found her in the kitchen, staring at her phone, scrolling absent-mindedly. The silence between us was thick, suffocating. Finally, I couldn't hold it in anymore. "Claire," I said, my voice calm but carrying a weight I hadn't realized I'd been holding. She looked up, surprised. "What's going on, David? You've been so distant lately." I couldn't contain the hurt anymore. "I know about Jake." Her face went pale. Her lips parted, but no words came out. I could see the panic in her eyes, the realization that I had pieced it all together. "I know you've been lying. I know you've been with him for months, maybe longer. I saw you at his house. I watched you kiss him, Claire. And I saw the way you looked at him, like I wasn't even there. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't some moment of weakness. You're in a relationship with him, and I've been living in a lie." She opened her mouth to speak, but I held up a hand, silencing her. Number, don't say anything. Don't make excuses. You don't get to explain this away anymore. I walked past her, grabbing my coat from the chair. As I turned to leave, I glanced back. "You can keep your new life, Claire. You can keep everything, but I'm done." And with that, I left the house, leaving her standing in the kitchen, trying to find the words to salvage what little was left of our marriage. It didn't take long for things to fall apart. Claire didn't fight me on the divorce. She didn't try to plead her case or ask for forgiveness. It was as if she had already moved on, already mentally divorced from me long before I found out the truth. But I knew what had to be done. I filed for divorce and made sure everything was in my favor. The hardest part wasn't the legal battles or dividing the assets. It was seeing how indifferent Claire was to it all. She didn't care about our house, our savings, or even the life we had built. All she cared about was Jake. I didn't try to make her regret her actions. I didn't want her to. What I wanted, what I needed, was closure. And the only way I was going to get that was by letting go. A few months later, after the divorce was final, I bumped into Rachel again. She gave me a sympathetic smile, but there was something different in her eyes. She wasn't just the coworker who'd watched me suffer. She'd become a friend. "How are you holding up, David?" she asked gently. I smiled, a little more genuine than I'd felt in a long time. "I'm doing better. A lot better, actually. I've learned more about myself in the last few months than I ever expected." I paused, then added, "And Claire? She's moved on with Jake. That's her problem now. As for me, I'm finally free." The weight of those words felt lighter than I expected. The anger, the pain, the heartbreak, all of it had slowly started to fade. I'd lost a wife, but I'd gained back my life. I had no idea what the future held, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to live in the shadow of her lies any longer. I walked away from Rachel, a weight lifting off my chest with every step. For the first time in months, I felt like I was finally in control of my own life again. The sun was setting, the sky a soft pink, and as I walked into the next chapter, I realized I didn't need Claire's love to feel complete. I just needed to love myself again.